Every year on my birthday, I receive an anonymous gift of $10,000. I always assumed it was my rich, eccentric uncle. This year, my uncle died, and the money still arrived, but this time with a note that changed my entire life. My Uncle Arthur wasn't just the black sheep of the family. He was a different species of sheep entirely. My dad, Thomas, is a man of rigid routine, an insurance manager who believes in hard work, sensible shoes, and never, ever causing a scene. Arthur was his opposite. He'd sold some simple piece of code to a major tech company in 1995 and cashed out. He spent the rest of his life in a state of perpetual adventure, sending postcards from places like Bali and Monaco, while my dad filed TPS reports. My dad resented him. He resented his freedom, his flashy, unearned wealth, and most of all, he resented what started happening on my 18th birthday. The first envelope arrived, thick, cream-colored, no return address. Inside, a cashier's check for $10,000. No note. I, a kid about to start college, was ecstatic. My dad was furious. "You can't accept this, Alex," he said, his face tight. "It's a handout. It's tacky. You'll earn your own way." My mother, Helen, just wrung her hands. "Oh, Thomas, it's just Arthur being Arthur. Let the boy have it." I took the money. I used it to pay for my dorm. And the next year, it came again. And the next. It became our toxic family ritual. My birthday would come, the check would arrive, I'd feel a rush of gratitude, and my dad would find a reason to be disappointed in me for a week. He saw it as Arthur poisoning me with easy money, undermining his life's work of teaching me value. I never mentioned it to Arthur. On the rare occasions he blew into town, smelling of expensive cigars and ocean air, he never brought it up. It was our wonderful, strange, unspoken secret. Then, 3 months ago, Arthur died. A heart attack on his sailboat off the coast of Greece. He was 68. My dad went to the funeral and looked more confused than sad. He had lost the man he'd spent his whole life measuring himself against. My birthday was last week. I turned 30. There was a quiet dinner. My dad gave me a sensible watch. My mom gave me a sweater. There was no secret envelope. I felt a genuine, sharp pang of loss. Not for the money, but for Arthur, for the end of our secret. And then, yesterday, I checked the mail, and it was there. The same thick, cream-colored envelope. My heart stopped. I mean, literally stopped. I thought it was a joke. I thought maybe Arthur had prepaid a lawyer to send them after his death. I tore it open. The check was inside, $10,000. But it wasn't from Arthur's bank. The cashier's check was from a small, local credit union I'd never heard of, and for the first time in 12 years, there was a note, a single sentence scribbled on a small, torn piece of paper. "I should have been your father. Meet me." It gave a time and an address for a coffee shop on the industrial side of town. I stood in my hallway, the world tilting. Should have been. This wasn't an eccentric uncle. This was something else. Something that implied my entire life, my identity, my dad, was a lie. I went inside. My mother, Helen, was in the kitchen, humming to the radio. She's a quiet woman, kind, but sad sometimes. I always thought she was just tired of my dad's rigidness. Now, I wondered if she was tired of something else entirely. I held out the note. "Mom, who is Robert?" The coffee mug she was holding slipped. It didn't shatter. It just hit the counter with a heavy thud, splashing hot coffee over her hands. She didn't even flinch. She just stared at the note. I had never seen this look on her face before. It wasn't just sadness. It was terror. "Oh, God," she whispered. "He found you. After all this time, he promised." "Who, Mom? Who promised?" "Robert," she said, finally looking at me. Her eyes were flooding with tears. "Alex, before I married your father, I was engaged to someone else. The next day, I was sitting in the back booth of the open road cafe. It smelled like stale coffee and bleach. Then, he walked in. He looked nothing like my uncle. He was older, maybe late 60s, with a weathered face and kind, tired eyes. He wore a simple flannel shirt and jeans. His hands, resting on the table, were scarred and calloused. "Alex?" he asked. His voice was soft and thick with an emotion I couldn't place. I just nodded. I slid the note across the table. "You've been sending me money?" He took a long, slow breath. "Yes, every year. I owed you that, and so much more." And then he told me the story. His name was Robert. He and my mother, Helen, had been high school sweethearts. They were engaged. He was a junior builder at a construction firm, saving every dime to build them a house. My dad Thomas, was his site manager, his boss, and, he thought, his friend. "Your mother, Helen, she was my whole life," Robert said, his eyes distant. "We weren't just in love, we were partners. We were going to build a life from scratch." "What happened?" I asked. "Thomas, your father, he wanted her. I see that now. He was subtle. He'd compliment her, tell her she deserved better than a life of dust and splinters. And he was my boss. I trusted him." Robert told me that work at their local site suddenly dried up. Contracts fell through. Mistakes kept happening that weren't his fault, but he kept getting the blame. He was on the verge of being fired. Then, Thomas came to him with a lifeline, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a massive 2-year project, managing a new development in Oregon, on the other side of the country. He called it a fresh start, Robert said, his voice laced with old bitterness. He said, "Go, Robert, prove yourself, get set up, and then send for Helen. I'll look after her while you're gone." It was a setup, a forced choice, go or be fired and lose everything. So Robert went. For the first month, he and my mother talked every night, but the calls got strained. Helen was crying all the time. "I thought she was just heartbroken," Robert said. But it was Thomas. He was in her ear every single day, telling her I'd abandoned her, telling her I was ambitious and that I'd chosen my career over her. He told her I was seeing other women. After 3 months, my mother broke it off, a short, static-filled call. She said she couldn't marry a man who would leave her. She said she was confused. A month later, Robert got the wedding invitation. She was marrying Thomas, her rock, her stable provider. Robert was shattered. He quit on the spot. He never came back. He stayed in Oregon, took his skills, and built his own empire from the ground up. He became an incredibly wealthy man. "And my mom?" I asked. 6 months after the wedding, Robert said, "I got a package, just one, from your Uncle Arthur. Inside was a single photograph of a baby, you, and a note from him that said, 'Thomas is a liar, but the boy is innocent.'" My God, Uncle Arthur. He wasn't just an eccentric uncle. He was a secret keeper, an ally. "Arthur found me," Robert said. "He was the only one in the family who saw what Thomas did. He fed me information, your school addresses, your photo, so I could send the money, so I could be a part of your life, in the only way your father would let me. And the money? I knew Thomas was proud," Robert said. "I knew he'd never accept my charity, so I let him believe it was Arthur. I let him hate his careless brother. It was the only way to get the money to you." I drove home. The world was in black and white, my entire life. My dad's lectures about hard work, my mother's quiet sadness, my uncle's secret smile. It was all a lie, a carefully constructed play, and I was the only one who didn't have the script. I walked into the house. My dad, Thomas, was in his armchair, reading the paper. My mom was in the kitchen. It was like a photograph of my life. "Who is Robert?" I asked. The paper didn't drop. My dad slowly, deliberately folded it and placed it on his lap. "He's no one," Thomas said, his voice cold. "A disgruntled ex-employee. He's been poisoning you." "He's been paying for my life, you mean?" I shouted, the rage finally breaking free. "He's been sending me $10,000 every year." My mother came out of the kitchen, her face pale. "Alex, please." "You knew," I yelled at her. "You let me believe it was Uncle Arthur. You let him." "I did what I had to do," my dad roared, standing up. "I loved your mother. She was confused. He was a penniless dirt kicker with his head in the clouds. I gave her a life. I gave you a life, a stable, respectable home. You stole us," I shot back. "You sabotaged his job. You lied to him. You lied to her. You lied to me, my whole life." "I am your father," he yelled. "Are you?" I asked. The question hung in the air, terrible and heavy. "Are you really?" My dad's face went from red to a pale, awful white. He looked at my mother, and she just looked at the floor, and she started to cry, and that was the answer. It's been a few weeks. I'm staying in a hotel. My dad calls, but I don't answer. My mom leaves voicemails, just sobbing. I'm having dinner with Robert tomorrow. My father. He wants to show me pictures of my grandparents, his parents. He wants to tell me about his family, my family. I'm 30 years old. I have a dad who raised me and a father who paid for me. One of them is a liar and a thief. The other is a stranger who loved me from a distance and who's been waiting for me my entire life. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever found a truth that changed your entire past, please subscribe to the channel. We share true, strange, and deeply human stories that remind us we're not alone in the chaos. Hit subscribe. Thank you for listening, and be kind to yourself.